Hello and welcome to episode number 178, where I'm discussing grains. I'm going to talk about the different types of grains, the qualities of the grains, and how they affect the doshas of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and why these grains can be beneficial in your diet. So please stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. I will also discuss topics like yoga, which is the sister science of Ayurveda, health and wellness, nutrition, fitness, and mindfulness practices, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to help you to connect to each other. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend that you start by listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Now, if you like the content, please subscribe to the show so the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. I've also set up a new private community away from social media on my new website, Elements Healing and Wellbeing. Now, this community provides a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, and to support each other. And I have many other perks in this community as well, so check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab in the menu. I hope you can join us. I'm looking forward to a lot more in-depth connection and conversation over there. And now, here's the show. Hello, it's Colette. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. So today it's all about grains. And I was thinking about this podcast episode because in my consultations with clients, I come across a lot of people who are eliminating grains from their diet and becoming gluten-free because they read numerous articles or heard that gluten, which is a protein found in some grains, can cause digestive problems. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that some people have conditions like celiac disease and they have to eliminate grains because their immune system reacts to this gluten. But if you're having digestive problems, I think it's important to get to the root of the imbalance rather than eliminating a whole food group, because it may not be the gluten that's the issue at all. As you know, Ayurveda emphasizes the importance of good digestion because undigested food creates ama or toxins in the body, and this ama can be the root of many diseases. So, ensuring that your digestive system is working efficiently is an important part of preventative health in Ayurveda. I also think we need to be aware of the quality of the grains we purchase, as how the grains are grown and harvested will of course have an effect on how we digest them. So I recommend buying non-GMO organic grains from a place that you trust, like a health food store. Now, I'm not going to get into the grain debate today. However, I do think eliminating grains from your diet as a precautionary measure is really a shame. And in this episode, I want to highlight the wonderful grains that are out there, their qualities, and their effect on the doshas. Ayurveda recommends grains for their building effect on the tissues, their nourishing effect for the body. And each grain has a particular quality, as I mentioned, and these qualities will affect each dosha differently. So let's start with grains that are good for the Kapha dosha. Now, as I just mentioned, grains are considered building in Ayurveda as they increase the tissues of the body. And because of Kapha's tendency of weight gain, grains should be consumed in limited quantity for the Kapha diet. Kapha has the natural qualities of heavy, moist, and cold. Therefore, we want to bring in the opposite qualities in grains. So here are a few examples of grains that would really work great for the Kapha diet. Amaranth is a light and dry grain, and this will really help to dry up the excess kapha moisture. Now, amaranth is also a diuretic, so it will really help to remove that excess liquid or that water retention that is a tendency of kapha. Barley is another really great grain for kapha. Barley is considered light and easy to digest, so really good for that sluggish kapha digestive system. And barley is also astringent, which will help to prevent the mucus and the congestion that kapha can sometimes have, especially if it's imbalanced. Buckwheat is another grain that's really good for kapha because it's heating and drying, and therefore will offset kapha's cool and moist qualities. Another one for kapha is corn. Now, corn is considered drying and heating, so really great for kapha, and again offsetting the cool quality of kapha and the moist quality. Corn is also said to have a diuretic action on the body, so really great for getting rid of that excess moisture. Another grain that's really good is millet. Now, millet is a light, dry, it's like a seed-like grain. Good for kapha, balancing that heavy, moist quality. So you can see all these grains have those opposite qualities of kapha. Another one is oats. Now, oats cooked in a traditional way will be heavy for kapha. However, dry oats are good for kapha. So dry oats in like a granola, or you could dry roast the oats and that makes them lighter. So oats are naturally heavy, but if you dry roast them in a pan, just a dry pan, and toast them on a medium heat, that will make the grain a little lighter. But dry oats, like I said, are better in the form of a granola for kapha. Quinoa. Quinoa is actually a seed that's really light and dry and a really great source of protein. Great for kapha. Obviously, that lightness is offsetting the heavy, and the dryness again offsetting that moist quality of kapha. Rice is good for kapha, particularly basmati and puffed rice. Now, basmati rice is tridoshic, so it's good for all the three doshas. And again, because it has a tendency to be a little bit heavy, of a heavy quality for the basmati rice, it's good to limit the quantity of it. And I would say have it in the middle of the day when your digestive fire is strongest. But puffed rice is particularly good for kapha because it brings in the opposite qualities of light and dry. So puffed rice is a really good alternative. Rye is a great grain for kapha. Rye is considered astringent, and therefore it has a drying effect on the body, and it also has a diuretic action. So there are some great grains there for kapha. And if I was to give you some samples of ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for kapha, some simple examples of the grains you could use. Well, for breakfast for kapha, you could have like a buckwheat porridge. That is a great alternative if you're hungry in the morning. Now, sometimes with a kapha constitution and slower digestion, there may not be a lot of hunger in the morning. So you could have something like rye bread toasted. That would be a lighter option. Obviously, when I talk about bread, I'm talking about really good quality bread from a baker. The bread, that type of bread that will go hard in a day or two, doesn't have a lot of preservatives. And toasting that rye bread with maybe a little bit of raw honey on top, when honey's a little bit heating, and so good for kapha. So that could be a nice light breakfast. Some lunch options for kapha could be your choice of protein with some veggies, served with some millet or rice, like puffed or basmati rice. Like I said, having that rice, which is a little heavy in the middle of the day when your digestive fire is strongest, and it also gives you plenty of time to digest it. And then dinner options for grains for kapha could be like a soup with barley or quinoa, or you could have roasted vegetables with those grains as well. Those grains, barley and quinoa, are easy to digest and lighter, so they're great at the end of the day. So there are some options for kapha grains. Okay, let's move on to pitta. Now we know the Pitta dosha comes with intensity and a high productivity. And so the grains recommended here will be grounding and nourishing because they need to provide Pitta with that energy for their active lifestyle. Sweet grains are particularly good for Pitta because the sweet taste is pacifying for that Pitta sharp, hot nature. So a grain that's really good for Pitta would be barley. Barley is considered cooling and astringent and therefore balancing out Pitta's hot and liquid qualities. Another great grain would be couscous. Couscous is the crushed durum wheat semolina and very good for Pitta. Oats are another one. Now, oats, as we said, are considered heavy. And so these can be great for Pitta because they'll offset Pitta's light quality and they also provide plenty of energy and nourishment. Rice is great. Also, as we mentioned, basmati rice is tridoshic. It has a cooling and heavy effect, therefore really good for the Pitta constitution. And wild rice. Wild rice can be a little bit more difficult to digest because it's a whole grain. However, the strong Pitta digestion can handle it. And wild rice is considered cooling. So that's a great option for Pitta. Spelt is another grain that's great for Pitta. It's considered heavy and smooth, and that is the opposite of Pitta's light and sharp qualities. So that's a good option. Tapioca is another one. Tapioca is considered sweet and therefore pacifying to Pitta. Remember, the sweet taste pacifies Pitta. And finally, wheat is a great option for Pitta. Wheat provides the nutrition and the energy, and it's really said to calm the mind, which is good for that Pitta intensity and that overanalyzing of Pitta. So that's another good option. Now, to give you some ideas, simple ideas of meals with grains for Pitta, a breakfast option for Pitta could be overnight oats. You could add nuts and seeds to that and eating that warm. Obviously the oats will provide nourishment and the nuts and seeds will provide lots of energy as well. Or something like a tapioca cooked with the milk of your choice and dates or figs could be a good option. Again, that sweetness of that breakfast can be great for Pitta. Some lunch ideas for Pitta are like a veggie stew with a basmati or wild rice, or you could have wheat noodle pasta with veggies as well. That's another good option. And for dinner, I would recommend something like couscous or barley grain with like a stir fry or steamed veggies. That would be some great options for Pitta. Okay, so moving on to Vata. The Vata dosha has the natural qualities, as we know, dry, light, and cold. So we want to bring in the opposite qualities in the grains. So we want grains that are moist and heavier in nature and a little bit heating. As I said earlier, grains build the tissues and therefore they provide great nourishment and energy for Vata. So grains like oats, they're heavy and they also have the slimy quality, which makes them great for that dry, light Vata constitution. All rice is great for Vata. The brown rice, I find, can be difficult for the digestive system to break down. So if you have a Vata imbalance, like excessive bloating or gas, you may want to be careful with brown rice. And I'm going to talk about soaking in a little while. That can definitely help. So I'll talk about soaking in a moment. But mostly all the rices are great for Vata. Spelt is another great grain. Spelt is considered heavy and also has these gooey qualities that offset Vata's light and dry qualities. Quinoa is a great grain. Now, I said quinoa has these light and dry qualities. So they are similar qualities to Vata's light and dry. Therefore, if you're having quinoa and you have a high Vata constitution, it's definitely recommended to add some good fats to your quinoa, like ghee or olive oil. And that grounding, nourishing fat will offset that light and dry quality. Another grain for Vata would be wheat and wheat products. So like couscous, bulgur, semolina. Wheat has a moist quality and really provides much needed lubrication for Vata and really good nutrition and sustained energy. And another one is kamut. Kamut is an ancient grain and it's a cousin of wheat. Great for Vata because it's easier to digest and it's high in protein. So a diet high in protein is really important for Vata as well. So some Vata ideas for meals with grains, a breakfast of like a rice pudding with dates would be really great, really nourishing and substantial for the day. Or something like eggs with like a sauteed spinach and buttered wheat bread. And of course, the bread being light and airy, it's important to put some butter or some avocado on that. Some of those opposite qualities of the bread, which is light and airy, bringing in more dense fat of the butter or the avocado. And again, that the bread is really good quality and purchased from a baker or a good source without preservatives. For lunch for Vata, I would recommend something like a spelt or kamut pasta and maybe having a sauce on that. Definitely want a sauce with moisture for Vata. So something like avocado-based sauce would be great with different spices or herbs. Or you could have a casserole with protein and veggies served with quinoa, again, adding fat to that quinoa to offset the lightness. There will be some really good ideas for Vata for lunch. And then for dinner, I would recommend like a root vegetable soup or stew with bulgur. Now, bulgur is a wheat product which is rich in magnesium, and it can really help to calm the nervous system and to improve sleep. So perfect for Vata, which can have a tendency to have an active nervous system, and if imbalanced, Vata can experience some sleep problems. So that could be a really good grain there. So in summary, for Kapha, it's best with light and dry grains with less moisture like amaranth, barley, buckwheat, corn, millet, dry oats, quinoa, rice and rye. Pitta does best with nourishing heavy and sweet grains like barley, couscous, oats, rice, particularly basmati and wild rice, spelt, tapioca and wheat. And then Vata is best with heavy, moist or slimy and warming grains like oats, rice, spelt, wheat, kamut, and quinoa with some good fats. There are always ways to balance out grains that are maybe not recommended for your dosha type. Just like I mentioned with the quinoa, that's light and dry, but if you're eating it in your Vata constitution, you add some fats like ghee or olive oil to it. And similarly, if you're Kapha and you want to have some oats, then dry roasting them in advance makes them lighter, and adding some warming digestive spices will aid digestion like cinnamon or dry ginger. And then soaking grains can really make them easier to digest. Soaking the grains is said to remove the phytic acid, which is in grains. It's a natural protection that grains have from insects, and this phytic acid can make the grain hard to digest. So soaking grains helps to neutralize the phytic acid, breaks down the hard to digest proteins such as gluten, resulting in the grain being easier to digest. So if you have problems with digesting grains, I really recommend soaking them. Grains should be soaked in warm water, and the soaking times vary per grain, so it's really important to check what the soaking times are. The lighter grains could be anything from 2 hours and the heavier grains overnight. And then making sure that you rinse them well. That can be really beneficial for a person who has problems digesting grains. Now, of course, this is all general advice. And as you know, there's no one size fits all in Ayurveda. We each have a unique ratio of the 3 doshas. So if you want advice tailored to you, I recommend an individual consultation. I provide them online if you want. I give advice on meal plans that are designed to your constitution, to your lifestyle as well. And I also wanted to let you know that if you're having digestive issues and you want some support, I do have a holistic at-home digestive reset cleanse. I offer privately, and I also have the group one coming up, the spring cleanse, to help you transition through the seasons. And that's starting April 16th. And if that date doesn't suit you, you can do a private cleanse and choose your own dates. The cleanse is the same. It just depends on your schedule and what level of support you would like, whether in a group or privately one-to-one. Now, my at-home cleanse comes with a 90-minute online consult where we can chat in depth about your diet and lifestyle. And then I will tailor the cleanse to your particular situation. In the cleanse, you get the tailored recipes, weekly coaching webinars, yoga videos for your dosha, meditation and pranayama tutorials. You get support from me, and there's also a private community as well. So a cleanse like this will really help to reset your digestive system. It will help to eliminate toxins that are stored in the fat cells, both physical and emotional. So it's improving digestion, improving elimination, helping you to maintain a healthy body weight for your constitution. And after this cleanse, you'll really feel that your systems are working efficiently, but also you'll have mental clarity, improved awareness. Your nervous system will be calmer because we're going to bring in some self-care practices to help you out, along with the mindfulness practices, and improve sleep, restoring balance to your body and mind, giving you more clarity and energy. So it's a great thing to do, particularly at the joint of the seasons, to prevent any seasonal sickness and just to offload any of those accumulated toxins from the previous season so that you're not dragging them into the next season and that they're holding you back. So there you go. That is my spiel on grains. If you're interested in the private consultation or the cleanses, check out the link in the show notes or go to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. For the group cleanse starting April 16th, go to the events tab. If you want to do a private cleanse, you'll find that under programs. If you have questions on any of this, any of my services, just book a free 15-minute online call with me and I will answer your questions. But what I want you to take away from today's episode is that rather than denying yourself a whole food group, whether it's because you have digestive problems or you're just taking precautionary approach because you've heard that grains can cause digestive upset, I really want you to understand your body, understand your unique constitution, understand what it needs, what type of foods are best, how to cook it. And that's really important because food is there to be enjoyed. It's one of the great pleasures in life. And I don't think we should be eliminating foods from our diet unless we have a specific disease like celiac in this case. But I think eliminating foods is not getting to the root of the digestive issues if you have them. And I think it can be very stressful to eliminate foods as well. So I think it's important to get in touch with your unique constitution, understand your tendencies, your signs of imbalance, what's going on in your body, and get it in balance so you can enjoy all sorts of foods and not have to worry about those imbalances that are draining your energy and holding you back. So again, if you want any help or advice, just reach out. All the links are in the show notes. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you think this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. And if you would like to join that private community over on my website, the Elements of Ayurveda community, I'll put that link in the show notes also. If you enjoy the podcast, would like to leave a rating and review, I would appreciate that. And please subscribe to the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. I appreciate your support. Appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope you find these episodes valuable. I always enjoy hearing your feedback, so please share. And take good care of yourself and be well. And until next time, Slán go fóill. Bye for now.